All right. Yes, sir. We're here. Welcome to episode 19 of the Collectin and Connectin podcast. Got my co-host here, Glenn W. What's up, my man?
Hey, what's going on? I got my Barrett jersey on now.
All right. RJ representing. I
Nice.
see you.
Yeah.
Looking good. Looking good. And we got a special guest, a returning guest. We got a college professor, ladies and gentlemen. Zach Binkley. What's up, man?
Not much. Glad to be here. Second time here. So first recording was at back when I was in Chicago. So now I'm in Michigan. So a little change here, but happy to be back.
Wanted to bring it up. Yeah, we talked you being a professor last time at Loyola, and then you changed recently to U of M. Tell us about that change. How's being in Ann Arbor?
Yeah, it's been really refreshing. A little slower paced in Chicago, which I'm enjoying. Teaching a new class for myself on research methods in sports. So looking at how we do research and conduct research and asking the right questions. But then I'm also serving this role as director of innovation for the entire School of Kines. So that's definitely keeping me busy. It feels like every week and a half, I get something added to my plate there, which I love. So very happy to be here and excited to kind of be innovate in our field of Kines for all of our wonderful programs we have.
Glenn, everybody watching, we could be somewhat educated. This dude sounds pretty educated.
Is he allowed to be on this podcast? I don't know. It might be a little too high for what's going on here. It's going to be like fart jokes.
This industry, the Web3 and NFTs, we're all smart people. So I think that's part of the appeal and the hook for me is it has been intellectually stimulating learning about NFTs and blockchain and our collecting strategy as Collectin and Connectin does. So it's always good to engage with bright minds in our community.
Yeah, we were just talking briefly that I went to Penn State. So seeing a Michigan, jacket on is fine. It's been a while, but all of our college football teams are doing real well right now, including Ohio State, right?
Yep. Eventually someone's got to lose. So it's going to be a rough couple of months in the coming months for some of us, but
yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, October is such a confluence of everything happening. You got playoff baseball, the start of hockey, the start of basketball, and football is obviously in full swing, as you guys are mentioning. So, like, everybody's juiced, no matter what sport you follow.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's a great time of year.
For sure.
So, I'm sorry.
Talk to us a little bit, Zach, about. We're making fun of you about being a little educated, but like you're doing some really cool stuff as an educator. You had talked before at Loyola that you were doing projects or doing things with the kids in your classes where you were giving them opportunities to use Web3, Metaverse, AR, VR for the projects. Talk to us about how you're implementing that here at U of M.
Yeah, absolutely. So the course I have right now, research methods, they kind of learn about the research process, but also how do we find quality research and then share that research in the industry for us to use. So one focus in that class, they are creating a podcast this semester. They have to work in a group of about 5 to find a theme that they're passionate about. They look up research and then they kind of share that to an intended audience. Our topics this year or this semester range from NIL and the issues going from that. But also students are very in tune and in touch with mental health as well as injuries. So they're looking at youth engagement rates and youth injuries, concussions rates as well, and trying to see what the current literature says on that, and then trying to educate the coaches or players or whoever their intended audiences could be. On the Web3 side,
that's so cool. Glenn, we would never miss his class, would we?
I'm just pretending I understand what he's saying. I'm like, yeah, that's really exciting.
It's interesting because we think, with us in the NFT space, we all kind of have an idea of where Web3 is going to go. But every 6 months, it feels like there's a new technology layer added to it. So this whole year has been about AI, right? Everyone's kind of experience AI in a different way.
It's come up a few times.
Yeah, so it's a new tool. I just had a workshop 2 weeks ago for our students that wasn't tied to a class, but it was to kind of educate them on how to use AI tools for strategy and for consulting in the sports world. So that was fun. But the AI with NFTs and blockchain, I've had some experience with metaverses as well, building some cool metaverse classrooms right now.
That's so dope, dude.
Some stuff I can't talk too much about right now, but the whole Web3 is it's fun because it's not fully defined yet, and we're still kind of every month kind of unlocking a new idea that's within Web3. I just saw like last week Disney is coming out with robotics, right? Like we haven't even thought about the robotics layer to Web3, and merging that with AI. So
I've heard that a lot, that we're not really thinking about the applications in the right way. We only see what's right in front of us, and there's so many possibilities out there of things that this could work with that we're not even capable of thinking about.
Right. And it consumes us, right? Like the focus on AI this whole year has consumed everyone in the workplace. 2 years ago, that was NFTs, right? We're all kind of consumed on NFTs.
I remember that.
So yeah, you're thinking correctly, because we don't really know how AI is going to interact with blockchain, with robotics, with metaverses, and you have the Apple Vision coming out, some other hardware that could change the game. But all this is eventually going to turn into something new, and that would be how we would define Web3. My PhD dissertation was on Web2, so I've been looking at some of my older books by 10 years, right? 12 years. Ancient history for us, right? But seeing kind of, because my dissertation was on computer anxiety caused by Web2 tools in education. And we're kind of going through that same cycle again as we go from Web 2 to Web 3. It's just that we haven't fully defined it yet. So it's kind of a fun kind of place to work right now.
Yeah, in college one time, Glenn, I had this really hard project that I did on PowerPoint. It was really impressive. I don't know if you ever used a program like that.
Yeah, I did some stuff like that. I actually I really like statistics. I probably should have pursued that. I don't love real like other types of math that were calculus and things of that nature, but statistics always made sense to me.
Yeah, definitely. And stats is kind of where I got my my start in the sports analytics world, just because stats into analytics makes sense. But I think I mentioned on the podcast last time and in our groups as well, like there's rarely a top shot decision I make, whether it's buying or selling, or even challenge completion, that's not using analytics. That's not statistical based. So it's helped me make better decisions over the last 2 years, definitely using the tools that we have and running some numbers on it.
So you don't have any bad trading decisions over that period?
There's some bad trading decisions in there, right? There was no way around some of those bad trading decisions, but trying to limit those and minimize that definitely helps.
Nice.
Definitely. I'm you bring that up. Talk about strategy, shifting gears. I know we've all kind of gone different avenues of collecting, and then maybe thought differently and wanted to shift gears and pick a different avenue. Talk to me about maybe how things have shifted for you in this last year.
So the last year, have had a couple realizations, and my strategy over the last 2 years was pretty much based on my ability to spend. I had a really strict budget, and where my investment went over the last 2 years was on set completions. Just because with my limited budget, I knew that if I did complete the sets, that could generate more revenue for me via airdrops. And that was sort of working. Series 3, I had a lot of sets that were based around the playoffs that I had completed. So I think like it had to been the summer of 2022, that playoff run, we got a ton of airdrops, which I did end up getting, making some good money in terms of the airdrops. But then the airdrops started going away last year. So we keep asking about the set rewards and whether we should be set collecting, things like that. And I still have, I think right now I'm at 43 completed sets.
Wow.
So the idea is to hopefully get, rewards off of that. And that's just kind of steady, not necessarily income, but assets that I'm acquiring without really having to do anything. So I've always kind of viewed it in that regard just because of my budget. the last month or so, selling a house right now in this market definitely helps my budget. So I was able to unload my house, sold it in 2 days before I moved over here, which I was very excited about.
Congratulations. That's a big deal.
Very nervous about that. The housing market right now is pretty much chaos, and didn't know what that was going to be. So the last month, I've kind of shifted my focus. I didn't have a single legendary in my collection until this last month. So kind of put some money towards the legendary tier.
Congrats. Who'd you get?
My first one was RJ Barrett.
Hey.
And I got
there you go.
I got 3 of them at the floor. So that was a good investment. I think one of them was a perfect serial.
Wow.
So I'm going to hang on to that one for sure. But I think RJ, for his age, you look at the analytics, no one at his age is doing what he's doing. He's a pro for 10 more years at least. He might not reach that top ceiling that we always thought when he was in high school. But he's still solid. He's going to be around. So I thought
it's funny how he gets trashed in the media because his shooting percentages aren't as high enough. But there's other guys that don't have really good really high shooting percentages either. He does a little bit of everything. He's still really young. I want to say he's maybe 23.
Yeah, 20. He's 23. Yeah, he's young. And we also don't know if he wasn't playing for Thibodeau, right? How the young player would have been treated because track record there with Tibbs. He's either playing a young player 42 minutes a night or not playing them at all. So that's always kind of interesting. But yeah, those 3, and then my other strategy
on those purchases. That's awesome.
Yeah. My other strategy on the legendaries is to go get legendary players or legendary plays. And I recently added 2 legendary finals moments from Middleton and Lopez from Game 6, which I was at. So I have like a mini collection of moments that I was at, the games I was at, and I'll keep those forever. And I always kind of thought that those 2 legendaries would be out of my budget. Of course, they're a lot cheaper today than they were 2 years ago, right? So they kind of fell within my budget, and I grabbed those up. And then my big legendary purchase for my birthday last weekend was the Kevin Durant anthology legendary. So
very nice.
I'm big on Durant. I think he's top player of all time, top 20, 15, 10. We'll see how it lands out. But he's also invested in the platform too. So figured that'd be a kind of a safe bet. So I'm really looking at for the legendary tier, trying to maximize either moments of time that I really appreciate or players that I know are going to be Hall of Famers. So I think I picked up a Chris Paul legendary really cheap compared to where it was. And that's been my strategy. Another thing that I'm starting to do more of, and I'll kind of spoil it for everyone here, but at the end of the day, we're buying tokens that are tied to media files, and we're buying essentially media, right? We're buying a highlight, and those highlights come in 5 different angles, things like that. So one thing I'm looking at is doing research on YouTube and seeing what NBA highlights have the most views. And some of these YouTube videos are not owned by the person who's posting them. So I kind of envision one day the NBA kind of taking back ownership of their media file and saying that this random account on YouTube that houses a highlight of LeBron's record-breaking shot, that they can't run that video anymore. So I'm starting to look at YouTube data and seeing kind of overall views. Recently, it just kind of, I'll share this knowledge with you a little bit. It was NBA TV about 3 weeks ago. It must have been Vince Carter was in the news or something, maybe a birthday. But they posted on NBA TV's Twitter account the exact highlight from Run It Back. It was the exact same Vince Carter 30-second clip. They didn't edit it or anything. It was identical. It was the same moment, the same edit that we have in the Run It Back set. And I could start seeing that being used by the league, by the NBA, the organization. So that's kind of got my head thinking about where we're going with Web3. ownership of digital assets, the amount of money that YouTubers are making off of content that they don't own. The players are kind of taking a more ownership approach to this too. They want to own these highlights. They're the ones creating it. So looking at that next evolution of the web, media, players associations, and their ongoing labor negotiations, I think all this is going to change.
It's an interesting point. Yeah.
So
you're thinking that the YouTube clips might come down at some point?
They could. I mean, do you technically own them? And if you can't show copyright or ownership, I don't know, how you would stand on that. So this is also something in my new role. I am doing crash courses right now on IP and trademarks and copyrights. Just for my own knowledge, I think that's could be improved, but I think where we're headed for Web3, using blockchain, there has to be a reason why we're using a blockchain. And IP, ownership, copyright, all that kind of stuff kind of goes hand in hand.
Instagram, I feel like, tried to do it for a little bit there. If you're going to use it as a PFP for your profile picture, they made you show your ownership to be able to use it, and same type of, I guess, thinking.
Yeah. Twitter had that too, where you had to verify your account.
That's right.
And you could only change it to a PFP if you actually showed ownership. Now, I think society-wise, we're a ways away from that. I think there's some huge issues to using tokens as a gatekeeping mechanism. And that concerns me as well. So kind of looking at this big picture, and hopefully we have some control of the direction it goes.
Yeah, I think Top Shot was definitely early in the NFT game, and people still don't wrap their heads around it maybe the right way. But the fact that the prices have come down, over the last couple of years, it gives collectors like us a chance to maybe get these moments that we never could even think of getting.
Right.
If they're a lot more affordable now, or if they're reasonably priced. I mean, I didn't have any rare sets done, and now I have video game numbers, and then I'm working on Origins right now as well. And I was like, wow, I didn't think I would ever be able to do this.
Right.
So,
and we're starting to see them add more rules. Like the Origins thing is pumping because of the new rules they put in place, right? These are only going to be the only rookie badge, rares or legendaries for these players selected. So when they do add more rules to the ecosystem, it kind of reflects that.
And some of them are bottlenecks also.
Right.
So that makes it valuable. And they're low mint counts. They're cool moments. I'm digging it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all in. So hopefully when this airs on Halloween, we're all full set completers on the Origins.
That would be sick. Yeah, happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Knock on wood.
I've felt myself shifting gears in the last series as well. I feel like we were all somewhat influenced to go after sets for the same thing that you mentioned. And then what you just brought up, Glenn, is I never thought I would own a rare set either, and just got S4 Throwdowns completed as my first rare.
Nice.
Jealous of the video game numbers and the Origins. The rookies is definitely the thing, man. Anything that has a rookie badge on it, shout out to Badge County. Like, that's what I'm excited about. And it feels like a lot of collectors are.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Rookie Revelations is expensive, but that's such a cool set.
Right.
If any of the, some of those players are going to be in the league for 15 years, they're going to be perennial all-stars, maybe MVP level players. And to have a set that celebrates just the rookies and showing draft footage, I mean, that's out of this world.
Absolutely. The idea that they added that rule also kind of tells me that they're going to adjust the gamification that uses that rule, right? So when we do challenges for this upcoming season, how will that rookie badge be used? And they've put this rule in place now that really puts rarity or scarcity on these rookie badge moments. So I'm kind of anticipating the whole gamification challenge side to be revamped in Series 5.
What do you think about the challenges and the gamification? Because I know there are a lot of people in the space that just want them to be collectibles and that's it. I personally think it's cool to have the gamification. I don't care if moments pump temporarily.
Right.
You know, you can always sell, or you can always do the challenge. It makes the economy more interesting.
Right.
Treat it because his ears are burning somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Talking about gamification.
Yeah. I'm having a tough time with Series 4 because they did have to do some de-inflationary strategies. So like the locking challenges, even the burning challenges, I'm not sure if those were healthy long term or healthy in the moment, because I mean, we're in a bear market. It's been ugly, right, for the last 2 years or so. I'm trying to wrap my head around, like, are these strategies a way for us just to survive this season to make sure that we get a Series 5, or is this going to be a long-term gamification part of the system? And I think we have a lot of questions on that with Top Shot Score in terms of how we use it. Some have wanted to use it more, but obviously it's playing a role in our burn challenges. With the challenges last year, what I couldn't understand is, I had at the start of last season, I probably had around 2,000 total moments. And that last tier, that championship tier of the fandom challenges, those flash challenges, I couldn't get any of them done. Like, completely out of my, like, who are these for? Well, it was for people who had a ton of moments from Series 1, 2, and 3, and they were just getting those for free, basically, and then selling them for like $8. Like, the challenge costs $300 to complete, and you're going to dump it for $12. It wasn't making sense. So that kind of told me that as maybe that deflationary strategy was going on. What I'm seeing now with the Origins, they brought back the Master Challenge. And part of the market pumping for Origins right now is because you need all 24 to get that 25th Luca. And that we haven't seen that mechanism, right? We haven't seen that Master Challenge in quite some time. Maybe the Legendary tier has had it, but I can't recall a last Master Challenge I've done. Maybe until
I don't remember there being one. I've been on the platform for a long time. Not that I've studied every challenge, but I don't remember that at all.
Cool Cats, baby. I wasn't a part of it, but I watched it.
Yeah. So that was
Speaking of Cool Cats, I did join recently, like last 3 months or so. So it's exciting.
Yep, I did too. I got that done in September. So
what's that?
I got 9 lives lounge done. Cool Cats. So happy to be a part of that. Might create a metaverse hangout lounge type for that.
Ready. Been talking about that, Glenn. He posts, and that's how I met Zach before CNC. I saw him posting things in virtual reality, like he's talking about teaching. And he's just showing up in different places. He had virtual museums where he has moments up on the wall. I mean, it is badass, the stuff he's doing to show off things. And you could just see a future there of, hey, I own this. Here's my virtual, library. Come check it out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. I haven't really explored that too much, the virtual reality aspects, but I think it's definitely really cool. And for people that can have these experiences, right in their house. I mean, that's where it's going, right?
Yeah. And the physical display is like one thing. And I think we got some good companies out there, Infinite Objects. There's some good companies that are creating those displays. I mean, this past weekend, I kind of worked on just using a Chromecast, Google Chromecast for $30 and making a gallery and streaming out to TVs or whatever display you have. But one thing I would like to see, we haven't used showcases since Series 2, I don't think. Remember, we had to submit our challenges through the showcase because I went through and was cleaning some of those up.
We're still doing that for CNC and the Wizards. Yeah, a couple.
So, like that whole area of our collection to where we can take it and display it, that could get renovated. That could get updated. Even the Tibbles, Seussibles, and the Skatables. I can't remember what the Fraggle Rock one was, but those apps, that's a Flow Dapper project as well. You can export your collection in a variety of ways to share it on social media, make nice frames for it. You could change the aspect ratio of those. And those are things that really aren't hitting Top Shot yet. So,
wait, what about the fact that they made it so that you have the rights to use the artwork from the sets that you own?
Right. The IP stuff, that's a game changer too. And that goes back to that Web3, right? Like we own the media file, and then we also own kind of the name, image, and likeness of those sets, which we can do a lot of things with.
Yeah, I mean, me and Three Ball over here, we were talking about coming out with a whole designer underwear line with all the Top Shot images on them. And
wearing them right now.
Right.
Three Ball's really into the G strings. So.
Yeah.
We can't find enough surface area
to
put the cube.
I was thinking, so when that whole idea came out, the IP stuff, my head goes, I'm gonna have so many damn coffee mugs with all these set logos on it, because I know like immediately all those online stores like coasters and coffee mugs, right?
Or a hoodie.
Or a hoodie, right? So
yeah, I'm in Texas. We get a month of hoodie weather. It feels like so.
That's true. It's always hoodie weather here.
Nice. I don't want to let you go before we talk about this study. We recently saw posts coming out that you were pushing out through the CNC group as well as just on Twitter, asking Top Shot users for their feedback. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So currently working with grad student Gia Fan, who's doing great work. This was something that I kind of walked into. She is a graduate student instructor for one of my labs in the research methods class. And the research that she's doing, she was excited when I got to campus because she had been working on this for a year and a half as part of her dissertation for her PhD. And I'm not her advisor on this or anything, but she knew that I was a collector, and getting survey responses is very challenging in higher ed because we're sometimes closed off from the outside world, which it shouldn't be that way. And when we have to actually study a phenomenon like Top Shot, you have to go to where the people are. So with her survey, it was a pretty standard like a consumer behavior survey. I mean, she didn't really change anything up from other studies in this area. She just kind of adjusted it for Top Shot. But she knew that I was connected to this group, as well as she'd call me an influencer in the Top Shot world.
You definitely are.
Right. So I was kind of happy to help her get the survey responses. And that's something that we have to record and report to our IRB that, this was advertised in these different spots. But I think, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, she only had 40 responses, and about 10 of those were accepted responses. I'm not sure what happened to the other 30. But I think as of this weekend, she's up over 400, maybe even 500 responses.
Glenn used too much language on his feedback, and
right.
So pictures on it.
yeah. So it'll be interesting, like what the study says, because the more people we get, the more voices we hear, the stronger that survey will be. And she should be able to report that, I would say, by the first of the year. But this is part of her dissertation and her PhD work, so it might take a little longer than that. But I'm excited because it feels like here at Michigan, and not saying it was not at the other place or other places, but Top Shot is accepted. It's normal. NFTs are part of the growing ecosystem. It's not a fad, and it's not something that's necessarily going to go away. It's going to evolve. It's going to change. But we're at least going to get some data now and see what consumer behavior looks like, which then we can act on. We can make some strategies, or maybe I was thinking maybe offer some mental health coaching for some of us in this space, right?
There's a lot of people that could use that.
Right? But we don't know what we need unless we study and find out that information. So I thought that survey was good. It'll be interesting to see what the results are. I'm going to be doing my own research on NFTs, kind of taking a different direction, looking at the financial side of it. And this might be an opportunity where I can use this first study and use parts of it into the next study. But she did a great job with this. Very energetic. Big fan of collecting and Top Shot as well. She hasn't really gotten into it too much. I think like she maybe will after her dissertation. But yeah, it's a fun and lively research area right now too. Anything that you can think of, you can study. So we're kind of limitless there.
When she does join, make sure that you share her info and TS with the
Definitely.
group, because we'd love to help her out and get her started on the right foot. That's
Definitely.
really cool that you're saying that it's as a educator that people don't want to help with the research side of stuff, but as the niche subject, I'm excited that people from the outside are interested to look into us and check out things like that.
Absolutely.
We recently had the Larry Bird interview that Austin Kemp put on, and that's you can see by the views that it's getting passed around outside of our ecosystem, which is the goal. We're trying to get out into the mainstream, into the NBA fans, and keep talking. Keep the good vibes.
Speaking about getting passed around, where's Brett?
Hey,
wasn't Brett supposed to be here?
He is supposed to be here. The dog man is out. He's chasing down his 2 loose dogs that got out. It's not the first time. You're a dog owner, aren't you, Zach?
Oh yeah.
What dog do you have?
Yeah, he's
there he is. He's in the picture. He's
right there.
Yeah.
He's a American Bulldog mixed with Australian Cattle Dog. So he's a handful. Hunter.
Hunter.
Yep.
That's cool. Glenn, you have dogs?
I don't. I like animals in general. I just never had a dog. My family's pretty allergic. And if I got a dog, my mom and my brother wouldn't really be able to visit much. You know,
my dad says he's allergic and has our whole life, but I feel like we encounter them all the time, and he never sneezes or has any issues. I think he's just been saying.
So Zach, if I remember correctly, are you a Bulls fan?
I grew up a Bulls fan. I want to be a Bulls fan. They've been, as a franchise, I mean, you look at the Bears right now, you look at the White Sox. I stay away from the Cubs because I'm a Cardinals fan. But it's been rough in Chicago. I made the decision. I was in the suburbs of Chicago back in like 2016, 2017, and made the decision to get season tickets with the Bucks, which turned out to be a great investment as well as well worth my time.
What's that drive?
For me, it was about 90 miles.
Okay.
And with traffic, it usually takes me about the same amount of time to get to Milwaukee than it did to get to the United Center from where I was.
Okay.
Which is just that's Chicago traffic. So, and of course I didn't go to every game, but I had winter break, spring break, Thanksgiving break, all those breaks for my work schedule I could go to. And then I got my season tickets the last season when they were in the BMO Harris Center. So it was a year before Fiserv. I locked my ticket prices in pretty good at a low rate, and rode that all the way through the championship. The bubble season was a mess. I got all that money kind of reimbursed. But I was able to see Game 6 with my brother. That was pretty, probably the best sporting experience I've ever had. And of course, after they won the championship, they came back and jacked the ticket prices up on me. So I was like, all right, I'm out. And I'll save some money on gas. But yeah, the Bucks, still a fan of them. Big fan of Giannis in terms of how he plays the game, who he is as a person. It's going to be interesting with Dame. I think everyone's, focused on Dame and Giannis, and you're still going to have Brooke Lopez and Chris Middleton in the corner shooting threes. So, I mean, those are 2 high caliber players that play at a high rate, stretch the defense out. So I think with the Bucks this year, because it's been this way for the last 4 years, is you got to score 120 on them before they get to 120. I think now they're going to score 130 before you can even get to 115. So
we are recording this before the season starts.
Yeah.
As we said, happy Halloween. Who do you got winning the East there? You got Milwaukee?
I am still feeling strongly about the Celtics. Not sure why, but I'm a big Jason Tatum fan as well. Kind of grew up following his upbringing, his career. Went to college with his aunt, so very close to her and that whole experience. But
6 degrees of Professor Binkley.
Yeah, exactly. So just following his career, and he's not going to get any worse. I mean, if anything, he's he's going to evolve even more. So, and if Jalen can play just up to his level, like kind of not go down, we kind of saw last year, but I think adding Porzingis, Drew is a monster. Drew's a game changer for him. And then they've shown the ability to add some depth. Derek White played good in the playoffs. So feeling good about those two. The Miami thing doesn't really make sense a lot to me because they overperformed last year. They were a play-in team. And then they were going to add Dame to that roster by gutting 3 or 4 players. And I'm like, it's already thin as it is. So not sure.
What about the Knicks? We gotta talk about the Knicks a little bit. What do you think about them this year?
The Knicks, it's a lot of talent, but there's not enough top tier talent. I still feel like you need a top 10 player in the league to push you into the playoffs, to get really deep, to get to those last 2 rounds. You need a top tier player.
See, I think that Jalen, I'm not saying he's a top 10 player, but what he does to the players around him, what he does to the team, he is a really, really good player, top tier guy. And we've already seen him make RJ better. He took a step with Team Canada as well as what we just saw in the season. So he's sneaky top tier talent that's going to make both of them play. I think it's up to Randall. If Randall really connects those 3 and they become a trio, they might have a shot.
That's what I was going to say was like, and Randall's right there too. But he's never necessarily taken that leap to be a top 10 player.
No, he's not going to be a top 10 player.
I know, but here's where if you're a Knicks fan, I think you're excited for. I have said this for about 5 years. I think Giannis ends up a Knick. I think he wants New York. I think he wants the big stage.
Yeah, but right now with getting Dame, that kind of puts a wrinkle in it, right?
But it's only 1 year. So if this doesn't work out this year, he could still go his own way. He could always do a sign and trade as well. I would think Giannis would want to extend and then get traded rather than just hitting the free market. And I'm not sure the Knicks would have space if he did hit the free market.
I think they can make it. They have like Fournier making 30 million or not 30, 20 something. He's just sitting there doing nothing. They can move some pieces around.
Right.
Probably.
He's not going to stay in Milwaukee or a small market. I mean, there's even rumors about the Bulls being interested in him. Of course, why wouldn't you? But I mean, if Giannis, if the knee is strong and healthy, I mean, we still got 10 more years of prime Giannis, and that
has to be on everybody's list.
That is a scary thing.
So, what do you think went wrong with the Bulls? With DeRozan and LaVine, everyone was so high on them. And what do you think the reason for the underperforming really is? It wasn't
– I don't have a problem with those two. I think they're high performers. I think they're putting the stats up. I mean, defensively, they're okay. They're not going to win you a playoff series with their defense. I think the issue came down to Vucevic and literally overpaying to get him. Giving up Wendell Carter, giving up Franz Wagner, ended up being the pick. Giving up this year's pick. I think there might even be one more pick coming. I mean, you basically gave away 4 years of your future for Vooch, who has a tough time tracking down rebounds. Seeing him play in person, not protecting the rim, not a shot blocker. I mean, he sits out on the top of the key. I mean, they will go as far as Vucevic takes them. And
so you think they mismanaged their assets and their roster around LaVine and DeRozan?
Yep, absolutely. And then you have Patrick Williams, who I am very big on, but they have been developing him as a 3-and-D corner player. I mean, they're developing him like Bruce Bowen instead of Kawhi Leonard, which to me is just mind-blowing because the frame is there. He was, if you look at the analytics last year, on-ball defense, top in the league. And then he started to add this 3-point shot, but there's nothing else. There's no other part of his game that they're really developing him. And he can't. He's on the court with Zach LaVine, Kobe White, and DeMar. There's only one basketball to go around. So I kind of get that. But, I mean, they've also tried to, personality-wise, with Patrick, I think DeMar said, if he gets a couple technicals this season, DeMar will pick up the bill. Like, he'll pick up the fine. They just want him to be more emotional and show it out there. So his development is something I'm watching. I mean, if you look at that draft class, he could be a gem. But in the current role that they have him, not just I'm cool with the role that he's playing now, as long as that's not his long-term role in terms of development. And maybe they're developing behind the scenes that we can't see. But to me, limiting him as a 3-and-D person only is not going to be beneficial. And then the bench, I mean, they got really excited for Javon Carter, and I'm like, he's been the backup point guard for the Bucks for a couple of years. Like, he's okay. He's not going to necessarily win you a playoff series.
Yeah.
But
you think they should blow it up and try and start over?
I think there is a time and place for that, and if I think the time should have been last year.
Mm-hmm.
It could be this year. If they go past this year with these 3 players again, tough time. But their talent, that's where they're stuck, because they're talented enough with their unit right now. They're talented enough to upset a team in the playoffs, but they're also at risk of not making the playoffs at all. So it's like
they're kind of in a purgatory. They're not really. They don't know which way to go.
And then all their draft capitals tied in that Vooch trade, which is just mind. And of course, you had to extend him. You can't just let him walk. So you're going to pay him this past summer what he got. Because if you let him walk and you lost all those draft assets, but I mean you add Franz Wagner, Anthony Black, and Wendell Carter Jr. to this team instead of Vooch. And this looks like a pretty dynamic lineup.
Anthony Black is impressive. He's from the Dallas-Fort Worth area here in Texas. I watched him play. He's really good. So very good young talent. Yeah, managing the roster has to be super stressful, dealing with the contracts. And if you have those type of assets and a good team there to try to build around, and you mismanage that with one mistake, if not multiple, you could pay for it for years and not be able to get out of it.
Yep, and teams, NBA is really like this last 10 years. Is everyone has like their own bubble of time to take advantage of the moment. And the Bulls had this with Rose before he got injured, where they had, Noah, whether it was Boozer or Gasol, Butler, they had people that were either entering their prime or just getting ready to exit their prime. And if you can line up all those windows together, you can make a run. The issue is when you sign someone and they're entering or they're exiting their prime and you're paying them prime money, and those windows don't align. So, with your Mavericks, what does, the window with Luka look like? Is that a 10-year window to win, or is it, going to be 3 or 4 years? It's something that we study in analytics, where we look at the bell curve of athletes. They all kind of follow that same bell curve. And you want to match up your roster and build your roster with as many people at the top of their bell curves as possible, which is hard to do because of contracts.
Right.
It's really a game of just kind of meshing all those peaks, together.
We have to be in a weird time for that if you're studying the curves and the statistics of it, with nutrition and weightlifting and players playing longer than they ever have. We're at a time where those graphs have to look really weird because they're extending their careers. Yeah,
we looked at. I used 2 examples. I had students look up Barry Bonds' stats so they could see what the opposite of a bell curve looks like, and so then I said, but we also see this in basketball because LeBron is still performing at a high level. We don't know what his bell curve is going to look like. But yeah, I mean, looking at trajectories, and you mentioned nutrition and health. That's where workload management's coming from, and the players want to extend their bell curve. They want to be at that peak for longer, and they want to extend the life of their career. And when they do that, they're going to make more money because the league rewards backloaded contracts. The older you get, the more you make. I mean, I'm thinking with the way Draymond Green goes about his contracts, you know, Draymond might want to play until he's 42, 43. And they're at one point we have to have a conversation about, does that take away an opportunity from a 23-year-old who it needs playing time?
Absolutely.
Right. If 7 of your 15 guys on your roster are all workload managing, you know, that's eventually going to catch up to the league.
Real quick, it's funny you mentioned that because there are so many young players that are given up on in their first 2 to 4 years. And you're like, that dude didn't even have a chance to develop.
Yep. And we're seeing that with the WNBA too. You know, we only have 12 teams and they're trying to get more expansion from that because, you know, the leagues are getting older because of all the medicine and injury recovery and nutrition and all that stuff. But we still have to have a youth movement in our sports as well. So we don't want to kind of sabotage the future by kind of extending the present, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like we could talk for a long time and go in so many different directions. You're in so many different projects and sports, as well as you're following all the statistics and the numbers side of things. Like we could just keep this going. We're definitely going to have you back, Zach. Appreciate you joining us today.
Anytime. It's always fun.
Yeah, it was nice talking to you.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, he's collecting ponies and baseball digital collectibles. You're all over the map. I'm focused on Top Shot, but I love hearing about the rest of Web3 because it kind of lets us know the pulse of everything.
Right, and we're getting ideas of if a NFT project's doing something that, you know, Top Shot isn't, then we can just kind of ask for that. So I know we need a trade function bad, just like on Susables, on those Tibbles apps. The trade feature is amazing. And if we did have that feature, it could definitely take off.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate you guys. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This is episode 19 of Collectin and Connectin. We'll see you guys next time.
See you later.